Hi, my name's Travis. I'm making a classic-style survival horror game called The Revanchist. I've been making games since about 2007, but I've always existed in my own little bubble, and only recently have I become a part of the game development community. It's great to see so many people getting into the hobby of game development and even trying to make a career out of it. But it's not all sunshine and roses. To be real, there's a lot of awful advice, dumbass rhetoric, and toxic mindsets that have so many aspiring devs kneecapping themselves and setting themselves up for failure. One of the most famously difficult parts of indie development, if you're looking to be successful, is visibility. Competing in the modern attention economy. Watch any of those "my game failed" videos and you'll see the number one culprit is always marketing. Marketing, this mysterious boogeyman that demands your focus and will strangle your game in its sleep if you don't tickle his balls just right. But have no fear, fellas. Even though this is my first serious game dev project, I've got decades of experience making personal projects and a professional background in sales management with some real marketing experience in there too. So far, The Revanchist has been far exceeding my expectations. Wishlists are about double what I was targeting for this stage in development. I've got influencers with their eyes on this. I've even had a few publishers reach out to me wanting to get on board. And today, I want to take a few minutes to break down exactly what I'm doing and why, explain the reasoning behind it, and hopefully set the record straight on a lot of the bullshit doomer nonsense that's been sweeping over the community. So pull up a seat, put on your thinking cap, let's see if we can learn you something. Starting off, a lot of people don't understand marketing at a conceptual level. They talk about posting reels, paying for ads, cold messaging streamers with keys, and let's be clear, this is not marketing, it's promotion. Promotion is a part of marketing in the same way a brake caliper is part of a car, but it's not marketing. Marketing is pretty much everything you do. Every choice you make is marketing. The art direction, marketing. Title, description, marketing. The game's genre, marketing. Where are you selling it? That's marketing too. It's all marketing. And the cool part is, if you get all of these other aspects dialed in, promotion really won't be very difficult or even very important. The better the rest of your marketing is, the less effort you can get away with putting into promotion. I mean, how many people are out there saying things like, gaming is dead, modern gaming sucks, everything is slop nowadays, people are desperate for good games. And if you can dial in your marketing, again, visuals, title, genre, gameplay, etc., your game will basically promote itself. If you're trying like hell to promote your game and it's just not working, don't tell yourself, well, I guess I'm just not good at marketing and I'm not pushing it hard enough. Take a step back, because there's something else deeper in the project that just isn't working. Okay, so we know what marketing really is, but how do we actually do it? What do we need to do to make something that resonates? Good news is, it's simpler than you might think. Be yourself. I know it's fucking cliche and it's just a catch-all piece of advice that people like to throw around at everything, but I'm ready to actually get into it and explain how and why. And something you should understand going in is, in a manner of speaking at least, you are not as unique as you might think. Specifically, there's a million other people out there with basically the exact same taste in games as you have. So make a game for you. Something you genuinely want to play but just isn't out there. Because odds are there are plenty of other people who want that too. If your starting point is, I want to make a game, what should I make? What's popular? What are some ideas that I can make with these asset packs here? Or anything like that, you're setting yourself up for failure. If the idea to make a game comes before the idea of what game you should make, it's going to be an uphill battle. Instead, think about what you want. What's a game that you wish someone else would have made but they just didn't? And then make the decision whether or not you want to be the one who makes it. And if you don't have that idea, that big grand inspiration, that's okay, because there is another way. And a really great example of it is actually Wishbone Games and Vermin. Wishbone made a lot of smaller, simpler games, and Vermin was originally one of those. It was thrown together quick and dirty for a game jam. Just a simple little experimental project, much like a lot of other games he was making at the time. But it resonated. It found an audience, and he found inspiration to really expand on it and make something far grander than it was ever originally meant to be. It had an identity, and he rolled with it in a way that only he could. It's different than most anything else out there, a vision unique to him, and that shows. You can see it from just a quick look at the game. And that's how you do it. Don't just jump into making a serious project for the hell of it. Don't just pick an idea you think might be popular or build the concept around some assets that happen to be available. Experiment. Try different things. Don't overinvest. Wait until you find your voice, your identity, before you really go for it. Could you imagine if I turned my first game into a years-long project? How much of a fucking waste would that have been? I spent years screwing around, experimenting, learning. The Revanchist didn't just pop out of nowhere. Over a decade ago, I wanted to make a horror game, but I didn't know what specifically. Do you see the issue already? I decided I wanted to make a game first, and then figured out the game I wanted to make second. And what I made was fine, I guess. Not much gameplay, basically just making your way through a haunted house, but that was pretty standard for an indie horror game back then. Visuals were decent, better than a lot of indies at the time. On paper, it's a fine, if unremarkable game, but it had no identity. Thankfully, I had the good sense to realize this, and I didn't keep wasting time on a game that would have just disappeared into the void. I came back to this many times over the coming years, each time trying something a bit different, getting closer and closer and closer to finding my voice, closer and closer to finding this game's identity. So when you're experimenting, trying things out, if you find something that you think has potential, you can't be afraid to take a step back and ask yourself, is this really working? A lot of people would look at this and say it looks good. A lot of people would look at this and say it looks good. But if you've got a genuinely good idea, something you really believe in, you owe it to yourself to be critical and be able to say, this is good, but not great. You need to be willing to think about it, find ways to improve it, to dial in your vision, and to make something with an identity. There's that word again. I mentioned before, in a way, you're not unique. Basically, no individual aspect of you is unique to you, but what is unique is the specific combination of those aspects. Nobody else has your unique combination of skills, your unique combination of experiences, your unique perspective. Back to the Revanchist, when I started this version of the game, it looked like this. That's fine, people liked it, the response was very positive, but I was honest with myself and I recognized it was just fine, and fine simply doesn't cut it. Well, going back a bit, I taught myself 3D graphics, starting out in about 2010. I grew up without internet access, so when I finally got it, I was just used to figuring things out on my own and never even thought to look up tutorials or instructions on how to do things. It didn't even occur to me. This isn't a flex, what I'm saying is it took me a very, very long time to get decent at it. I spent years figuring out shit that people have nailed down within a week using tutorials. It was a slow and painful process, but throughout that I learned a lot of things that other people miss because they speed right past it. I learned how to make awful 3D look compelling through lighting and composition. I learned how to work around my flaws and make a final render that evokes some sort of emotion, even if I'm totally obscuring the actual 3D model. I learned how to make sloppy, amateurish 3D that looks compelling and vivid, even if it doesn't hold up well under close inspection. And I'm still awful at 3D on a technical level, and anyone who spent a few months practicing the right way of doing things in Blender can absolutely blow me out of the water, no doubt about it. But there is not a ton of people in the indie scene who are better than me at the specific things that I'm good at, so that's what I focus on. I doubled down on the lighting, the post-processing, volumetrics. I dirtied up the frame, obscured fine details, shifted the focus to the overall composition because that's what I'm good at. That's what I spent years dialing in. Even this PS1 style wasn't just picked because it's easy or popular, it's a specific and deliberate complement to my skill set. I can make some really nice 20-footers, 3D that looks pretty good from a distance even if it falls apart when you take a real close look at it. And that's okay because all this fine detail is lost in the low-res PS1 graphics anyways, which lets me focus on my biggest strengths while working around my weaknesses. A lot of people ask me to explain to them how I make the game look the way it does because they want to recreate it, and it always upsets me a bit when people do that. Not because I'm mad they're trying to copy me, I'm sad they're not finding their own path. This game looks the way it does because I've got 16 years of very specific experience and lessons learned. It stands out because it's an expression of my unique combination of skills, so if you try to copy it instead of figuring out your own path forward, it's never going to match up, and it's never going to resonate as much as a style pioneered by you, based on your own unique combination of skills. Because as much as people like to say that graphics don't matter and gameplay is the only important part of a game, unfortunately, that's just not true. Anytime I post a clip of this game on Twitter, it gets 10 to 20k views on the low end, 40 to 50,000 on the high end. I posted a short clip of the flamethrower on Reddit and it pulled over 100,000 views and immediately made me a top 1% poster. Just recently I posted a bit of a longer clip on Twitter and that cracked 200,000 views and netted me over 3,000 wish lists for a single post. And I can promise you none of that would have happened if I was just trying to copy what's popular or tossing together assets. When people see this, they notice it because it has its own unique identity. A good way to think about it is to ask yourself, if I grabbed screenshots from random frames of this game, not of anything in particular, and showed it to someone who's just vaguely familiar with the project, would they recognize it as your game? Think about all these major indie success stories, games made by individuals or small teams that went on to do massive sales numbers. Put those games through this same test and you'll notice a strong trend. It's not unheard of, but certainly not common for a game that fails this test to be a hit. Even if the gameplay is great, that doesn't mean much if no one gives it the time of day in the first place because it looks bland and uninspired, if they can see clips of the game and not even recognize it as this game. But again, remember, marketing is more than just that. It's basically everything about your game. And besides making sure any of these particular aspects of marketing work in isolation, they have to fit together, form a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. Again, back to the Revanchist, aside from focusing on my strengths while minimizing my weaknesses, the graphics inform the gameplay and tone of the game. Looking at the visuals for a bit, let's break down what the style is. It features a lot of distinct PS1 styling, from the heavy aliasing, unfiltered textures, vertex jittering, and the overall low resolution. It's definitely not hardware accurate in the slightest, but it hits all the bullet points and even exaggerates some of them beyond the PS1 limitations, like the super low screen resolution. But that's mixed with modern ray-traced lighting and volumetrics. So what do we have? A retro look that accentuates the style of the times with a bold, modern twist. And that is exactly what I'm setting out to do with the gameplay. Distilling out all the important details that make classic survival horror feel the way it does, accentuating them, and modernizing everything else for a distinct hybrid approach. The visuals also give the game a wispy, almost abstract and dreamlike feel, while also feeling oppressive and intimidating, matching the tone of the story and environments. The visuals are more than just cool-looking graphics, they tell you about the game and what it's going to be like to play. And that is why they're compelling. Just a short clip of the game communicates a lot of information and really sparks your imagination. Also worth mentioning is the title, The Revanchist. I've had a lot of people suggest I change it, including a couple of publishers and investors who wanted something more traditional. Because no one knows what it means or even really how to pronounce it. And that's the point. So I've mentioned before, I got this title from a Trivium song of the same name. I had no idea what it was. Is it a word? I've never heard it anywhere before. Is it a name? It doesn't seem like it based on how it's used. What does it mean? What is it referring to? I've listened to the song over and over trying to figure it out. This title lived in my head rent-free for days.
Eventually, I just gave in and looked it up!
When I did, I realized the meaning actually works for the game I was making really well on a couple of levels, so I decided to use that as the title. And it even inspired further changes to the story and lore to fit the new title even more, which actually ended up adding a lot of depth and cohesion to my vision for the project. So anytime someone says I should change the title to something a little bit more normal, my answer is always no. Much like the visuals, love it or hate it, it gets your attention. It's a word with a certain amount of gravitas to it, used in such a way as to imply it has some sort of significant meaning, yet here you are not even knowing how to say it out loud. It gets you thinking in just the same way the song got me all those years ago. And the longer I can keep you thinking about my game after you see it, the more of an impression it leaves, the more familiar it becomes, the more recognizable it is to you. And that right there, keeping your product on someone's mind, building that association, that is the real goal of marketing. That's the whole purpose of drilling ads in your head over and over and over. It's to keep you thinking about a product or brand as long and as often as possible. But it goes further. A lot of the people who suggested I change it did so after looking it up to find the meaning and speculating as to whether or not it would be a good fit for what they theorized the story of my game to be. So you're telling me you saw the name of my product and that drove you to not only go Google it, but to speculate and theorize what the story and themes of my game are going to be based on the title and how you think this all ties together? This is a big thing in marketing. There are brands that dream of this kind of shit. Don't get me wrong. It's a big risk picking a title for your game that no one understands. But the way it fits together with the game's description, the tone as conveyed by the visuals, it comes together in such a way as to inspire a lot of intrigue. In isolation, if I just put a title like this on any old game, it would be a dumb fucking idea. But all in all, the marketing of this game comes together in such a way to be greater than the sum of its parts. And it does so in a way that not really anyone else is doing, because again, Nobody else is me. No one else has the specific experiences and perspective that I do. And it's all come together in such a way that I can reliably generate a few hundred wish lists at minimum for spending 3 minutes throwing together a few crude screen captures of the game. And has already had 2 posts that blew up enough to generate thousands of wish lists each before I even have a demo on the horizon. Because remember, I have crippling anxiety. I don't have it in me to sit here shoving my game down people's throats constantly with endless clips on every platform, doing collabs, sending out thousands of emails to streamers with keys begging for attention. If it came down to that, I would have no shot, but contrary to popular belief, you really don't have to do it that way. If you can get the rest of your marketing dialed in, the project will basically promote itself. And it's important to remember, good marketing doesn't guarantee success. You still have to make a good product that inspires people to share it around and recommend it. But I can rest assured, if the game fails, it's not because the marketing boogeyman willed it to be so. It's because I failed as a developer to make a compelling experience. To reiterate, if you want to succeed, be yourself. Experiment. Try things out even when you know you'll fail. Find your own voice. Do things your way, in a way that no one else can replicate even if they tried. Focus on your unique strengths and work around your weaknesses. Be real with yourself and admit when something you're doing just isn't working. And don't be afraid to take risks. So if you found value in anything I'm saying, feel free to stick around because there's more where that came from. If you think I'm just full of shit, please do let me know in the comments. And if you want to support me in this project, you can always give me some money. I'm trying to afford a desk so I don't have to keep working from a coffee table and fucking up my back. I'm poor as fuck, any little bit helps. Wishlist, Discord, Twitter, you get the gist. Alright, good night everybody.